I can't even think of the brother's name. But there's a movie out called A Time to Kill about this little sister walking down the road and two so-called white men that had been drinking, and I submit to you that would not even have been a reason or excuse the drunkenness. But the drunkenness means it wasn't just this child. Any child, even one that looked like them, would have been in trouble on the same day under the same circumstances. But they raped this little girl. I think they threw her off a cliff or something, left her for dead. The girl survived. Her father shot them inadvertently, shot a law enforcement officer that was escorting them to a courtroom. And the Ku Klux Klan and the whole so-called white community rose up against this brother in defense of these two rapists who clearly had done it. And it wasn't even about, you two are fucking monsters. And Tamil, you're fucking predators, okay? The whole thing is white power, we're white. Going back to Chris Rock, it's all right if it's all white. So you can do anything at all in your goddamn whiteness. And you can turn on anybody being goddamn white. But you totally missed the point that these are two adult predators that raped and attempted to murder a child. And it could have been your child or any child. It just happened to be a melanin-rich child that day. But had it been some other child, they'd have just killed the child and accused some nigga of doing it. You know, some brother, like always. We always get accused of doing shit that they've done. And when they came over here, what was it? They said, oh, these are cannibals and savages. And who turned out to be the cannibals and the goddamn so-called savages? We know the word savage means to salvage. But, you know what I'm saying? This is my point. And they turn around and say things, oh, they're going to rape our women. Shit, y'all was the ones raping everybody's goddamn women. And what they're doing is transferring their nonsense onto other people. You know, which is going back to what I was saying about the female that tanned so much that she became brown. And everybody's pissed off because she's got some kind of damn near coupon or almost freebie, which to me is probably to them too much like a welfare handout. Well, she can go back and forth damn near as many times as she wants in a year and get brown. But instead of going, well, that's an amazement. Why would anybody be thrown in jail for their child coming into a tanning booth? They've done what they do best. They transfer all of their nonsense onto other people and make everything about them and being white. They keep missing the boat and missing the point. Because the fact of the matter is, everybody's concerned about Rex 84 plan and concentration camps and all this other nonsense. A lot of these things are not set up like everybody thinks for what is currently erroneously identified as black people. Because so-called black people, you do not have to pass legislation and come up with laws and acts to kill niggas off. All you got to do is just kill niggas off. When you do it, everybody's okay with it, kind of like in the Trayvon Martin thing. Nobody's tripping on the fact that this is a child assaulted by an adult walking down the street, minding his own business or whatever the case may be. They made it about color and about race, and they're sticking to this color and race thing when it could have been anybody's child if this person is crazy like this. But the whole point at the end of the day is everybody wants to be white and be against those that are so-called black, which makes it okay to kill a bunch of so-called African-American Negroes that claim to be black and colored or whatever the case may be. Nobody needs a law for that. You don't need to set up special concentration camps for niggas. That's one of the things that prisons are for. You don't need to set up special Patriot Acts to kill my niggas. The police and the sheriff's deputies do it every day. And now you have it where neighborhood watchmen like Zimmerman can do it just because. And the Ku Klux Klan could do it and still does it and has been doing it just because. And brothers can hang out with their so-called white friends and get drunk and decide they want to run them over and drag them behind a car or under a car to their deaths just because and get away with it. Or like the brother I know in Sacramento that went up river rafting, or not river rafting, I guess they went up drinking beer and smoking liquor with his so-called white friends. Only brother in the mix, only melanin-rich person in the mix up in the Sacramento, California area. And all these Europeans came down off the mountain without that brother. Everybody's like, well, what happened to the brother? Where's the brother? Approximately 3 days later, they found his dead ass up out there where they left him. I guarantee you, with Trayvon Martin, had that been a brother that talked about neighborhood watch captain, gone up and shot this dude in the back, and he'd have been a so-called little, what you call white boy, that nigga probably wouldn't have lived long enough to get to the prison, or the jail, I'm sorry, to be, you wouldn't have been walking around free. He wouldn't have been able to do that. And if he did live long enough to get to the jail, they'd have been talking about, oh, we found so-and-so dead in the cell. He was hanging from his shoelaces or some other shit, you know. Don't even come at me with the whole, it's all, niggas always tripping on color. We don't trip on color. We don't give a damn about color. As a general rule, melanin-rich people trip on the individual. Most of us get to know you as an individual being. You got some people, I know a couple of people that have a real problem, that look like me. They got a problem with people with so-called color. And one sister I got, she don't like, I don't like white people's energy. They're not even allowed in her house. I don't give a damn what's going on. If she orders a refrigerator and you deliver it and you look like so-called white people, you can't deliver this refrigerator to her. She might tell you to leave the shit on the doorstep and she'll get it in there her damn self. You come there talking about installing cable or something or whatever. If you're not melanin rich, you're not coming in her house. She just don't play that. She don't like the energy. And that's very rare that you run into melanin-rich people that feel like that. Very hostile. Even the half-breed, you can be half-breed mixed. She's still hostile. She got a problem. She just does. And, we all love her, and it is what it is. But that's a rare individual. So let's get into this so-called color thing. What is the color? What is the American color? If you are an American, what color are you supposed to be? And if you ain't that color, what color should your people be? Copper colored. That is according to the original definition of the term American. Okay? If you are not copper colored, I don't give a damn how many generations you have been in the United States of so-called America or the so-called U.S., and there's a difference between America, the United States of America, and United States and U.S. However, you can be here as long as you want to be. You can never be an American if you ain't from the copper-colored people that the Europeans found here, and that's the original definition of the word American, the copper-colored races that the Europeans found here. If you're not copper-colored, you're not an American. I don't give a damn if your people came here on the Mayflower, if you came here after the Chinese with the damn Vikings, who, by the way, didn't try to take over. But if you came with them, you could be here as long as that. And as long as you have stayed in your so-called species and tried to keep the so-called white race pure to the point that you don't have no copper-colored ancestry whatsoever, or none that you can prove and verify, and you don't have a nigga at all, and you don't look like a nigga at all despite your color. If you're not copper-colored or from the copper-colored people that the Europeans found here, you are not a damn American. Just like you can go to China for the same length of time and be there, I don't care how many generations in China. If you keep on mating with your own species and make no effort whatsoever to get into the Chinese bloodline and get any Chinese ancestry or whatever the case may be, you can be there from now until hell freezes over. Yeah, your ass will never become goddamn Chinese. No matter how many hundreds of years you and your people have been in China. That don't make your ass Chinese because you live there and, your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather came on the good ship, whatever. And they're in China and they've been here for so many hundred years. And we own all this land in China. We've been here for so many hundred years. You're still a European in China or African in China or American in China. You're still not Chinese in China or Manchurian, whatever you want to call it. You are not of the original autochthonous people, and you can't claim to be Chinese just because you've been in China for however many hundreds of years. Now, you can say you're some kind of Chinese citizen, Chinese national. It's the same thing. If you're not copper-colored of the copper-colored people or a child of the copper-colored people and you can't find your so-called Indian, Indio, Negro, Morisco, Moor, American, Negro, colored, black ancestor, you ain't no goddamn American. Call yourself what you wanna. Now, let me say it again so you can understand it. Those of you that are copper-colored and of the copper-colored people of the Americas, who have been here since time immemorial, who were here long before any other ethnic stock of people of any kind. Now, people say, well, what about these Asian-looking people? It's like, people just keep forgetting that Chinese people came to America. And I don't know if those Chinese were the autochthonous Chinese that were melanin-rich also or a paler fraction thereof, because like I said, I have Chinese ancestry. So what? If I go to China, I don't look like no damn Chinese. I look like a nigger to them. I got Scot ancestry. So what? I have French ancestry. So what? Okay? I have Scott as a Hamilton. I don't even know my Chinese ancestor's name. I have so-called, I don't even want to use the word Mexican. I'm going to say Mexican ancestry as a Carrizo, Carissa, whatever the hell it was. My family shortened their name to just Car. And I have the French as a Zeno. My great-great-grandmother, Octavia Zeno, spoke fluent French. When you look at me, you don't see no Chinaman. You don't see no Frenchman. You don't see no Scot. You don't see no so-called Mexican. You don't see none of that shit. You see an autochthonous American when you look at me, which people erroneously call African American, Negro, black, colored. That's what you see. I don't care what's in the genetics. Now, the same thing has to be said about these other people. So, if you are an American, and autochthonously American, because again, copper-colored race of people here were here before the Chinese, who came over and got into the bloodline, and before the French, and before the British and English, the Russians, because remember, at one point, different Europeans had come over here vying for the Americas. I think the Russians had like San Francisco and the Portuguese or the, let me not say the Portuguese, a bunch of so-called expelled Jews from Spain that were in Portugal got down into South America claiming to be of Spain and Spanish. So they had like New Spain and, which, then you had, different people had different shit. I forget which portion the Germans had and the Dutch, or as one of my listeners in Germany says, the Germans are the Dutch or Deutsch. Germany, Dutchland, Deutschland, DEU, TSH or whatever, CSCH, same difference. DUTCH, same shit. Dutch, Deutsch, same difference. So if you understand how a bunch of these people came over, and when they all showed up, they found the autochthonous Americans here. And there were those that were helped by the autochthonous Americans. And I perceive a lot of them turned on them, just like these people turned on everybody. Oh, before I forget, I was talking to someone the other day, and I forgot to tell this person. It dawned on me later. It's like, Yaffa, you always have this discussion with people, and you always forget to say this. Because people keep saying things like, and this is on a digressionary note, people always say things like, they're trying to feminize the African-American male. He's being effeminized. They're trying to turn him out. The effeminization of the brother. And then I have to, once in a blue moon, I'll remember to remind people, but most of the time I don't recall. Just like I don't recall a lot of things that I intend to say to you guys unless I make a point of jotting them down in notes and notebooks, which I have a bunch of things I need to say that are jotted down in notebooks somewhere in boxes in the house. But has anybody noticed that it's not about only is feminizing our men. And again, people will say, I don't give a damn about other people's people. I'm only concerned about ours.